Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. We are glad to have you. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show. This is Dr. Richard Owen, joined by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bachi.
In the house. We are ready to go. We've got a very exciting show for you tonight. There just absolutely was very little in the news to report on, so we're just going to kind of wing it and see what we can come up with. We are all over the social media as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. We have a budding blog that is docowenshow.com. We're getting better about posting things out there. We're getting pretty close to opening our store, which we're going to be extremely proud of and happy for you to visit. As well, you can find us with 2 free apps, one for the iPhone and one for Android devices. So that's, if you want to get up to date and go back and look at some of the archives, et cetera, we are just beginning year 4. This is show number 2 in year 4. So we've got a bunch of stuff out there for you to listen to while you're mowing the yard or something. Plug in your headset and go for it. We also have 2 new shows in addition to this Doc Owen show that you're listening to that we kind of like to promote and would like to have you join us on. Monday night, we do a show called Saint Cities by Doc Owen Show. It focuses on sanctuary cities and immigration issues. So you won't hear a lot about those on this particular show because we kind of segment those off and deal with them separately. They're big enough to have their own show. The other one is called Campus Connection with 2 Ks, Campus Connection by Doc Owen Show. And that is dedicated to predominantly high school and college campuses, but other things will drift in there every once in a while. I think we've got an article coming up next week about a young man that's 12 years old, like in junior high. So, you know, it's going to focus on that because that's where the bulk of the activity is. But those are on Monday and Wednesday night, and then you join us on Thursday night for the Doc Owen Show. So let's begin the show in our very traditional manner. We have a moment of inspiration from Ms. Surefire, a This Day in History from Uncle Bachi, and I'll close that little segment off with 1 or 2 leadership quotes. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And as usual, tonight's quote comes from InspirationalDaily.com. And it's from a gentleman by the name of William Ellery Channing. He was the foremost Unitarian preacher in the U.S. in early 19th century. And his quote is, "The home is the chief school of human virtues."
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Good
I
job.
like that one. I was like, bingo.
Well done. Good job. Nice thought, Mr. Channing. We appreciate that.
Yep.
Good job, Alma.
Thank you.
Bachi, what happened this day in history?
On this day, September 22nd, in 1862, how fortuitous that this came up now in the middle of our talking about slavery. President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, which the intention of was to free 3 million black slaves in the United States. And it recast the Civil War as a fight against slavery.
Interesting. Which is not why it started. That's why you said it recast.
That's correct.
Okay, but they have to be a fan of the show and or history to really know that, because
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just making sure that you were getting the proper credit. I've got 2 leadership quotes for you tonight, both from Crowned Grace International, some friends of ours. The first is from a gentleman by the name of Charles Kettering, Kettering, and he said, "The world hates change, yet it is the only thing that has brought progress."
That's true. I like that one.
And then the second one is from my absolute favorite doctor in the entire world. That would be Dr. Zeus.
Yeah.
Oh, the things you can find if you don't stay behind.
Cool.
I like it.
Yeah, get out there, get out there in front of them.
That's right.
Uncle Bachi, are you ready to give us a history lesson, sir?
Let's go for it.
All right, man, you're on. Go.
Okay. We're going to ask the question tonight, who was the first person to own a slave? And we probably are not going to be able to answer that. And I'll tell you why. African slaves had been in the New World since at least 1501, when they were brought to modern-day Brazil. Most of those slaves were brought there, of course, by Portuguese from Angola, which was a Portuguese colony. Now, slavery in the colonies started nearly as soon as the colonies themselves, and information regarding these colonies is difficult to find due to much loss of, over the years, of documentation. So it's very, very difficult. However, slavery did start early on in the colonies. Now, prior to 1655, there were no legal slaves. What they called them was indentured servants. We've talked about before.
Right.
All the masters were required to have their indentured slaves for 7 years until they paid off their debt, and then they were to be set free. And upon being set free, they were actually given 50 acres of land to their own. So it starts off real easy as far as slavery is concerned. According to colonial records, the first slave owner of the United States was a black man. Not true. Not true, but that is a very popular story. And we're going to tell, we've talked about this gentleman
the
before.
first person to own a slave was a black man, but you're saying that's not true.
Yeah, it's not true, but there is a good story, some true, some not. And I'm going to tell you the story.
Okay.
We've talked about this gentleman before.
Okay.
His name was Anthony Johnson.
Yeah.
Remember Anthony Johnson?
Sort of.
Okay. Now, he was a Negro from modern-day Angola. And he was brought to the U.S. to work on a tobacco farm in 1619. So it's really going way back there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Wow.
in 1622, he was almost killed because of an Indian raid that attacked the farm he worked on, which left 52 people dead out of the 57 that were there. So he was fairly lucky. He married a female black servant while working on that farm. Now, when Anthony was released, he was legally recognized as a free Negro and ran a successful farm of his own. In 1651, he held 250 acres and 5 black indentured slaves.
Indentured servants.
Indentured servants, I'm sorry.
Right.
Thank you for the correction.
That's
Yes. One of those slaves, or indentured servants, I'm sorry, was called John Casor. We've talked about him before. So far, all of this is true. Okay.
Yeah.
But he told Casor, sorry, buddy, I'm going to extend your time. So what did Casor do? He got up and ran. He ran away, and he became in the employ of a free white man whose name was Robert Parker. Anthony Johnson did not like that, of course, so he sued Robert Parker in the Northampton court, a very liberal court, by the way. No, that's just an aside. In 1654. In 1655, the judge ruled that Anthony Johnson could hold John Casor indefinitely.
Okay.
Imagine that. Imagine that. So the court gave judicial sanction for blacks to own a slave of their own race.
Now, okay. So you're moving from is that the case that moved them from indentured servants, which was a specified period of time, to the qualification of slave, which did not have an end to the relationship?
Yeah, this probably was the first judicial
right. That's what I'm saying.
ruling that
made that
changed
switch, that recognized that switch.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Okay? So, now, whites could still could not legally hold a black servant in an indefinite slave until 1670 is actually when it became the time where they could actually, own them outright. And in that year, Colonial Assembly passed legislation permitting free whites, blacks, and Indians the right to own blacks as slaves.
Okay.
So it was really around that time, even though that court ruling kind of set the pace. By 1699, the number of free blacks prompted fears of a Negro insurrection. Okay?
Yeah.
So it gives you a little idea of how bad it was. Virginia ordered the repatriation of freed black slaves to Africa. It happened way back then, 1699.
Okay.
Because they were scared. They didn't want these people to be uprising.
Right.
So many blacks sold themselves to white masters so they would not have to go back. However, this was the very first effort to gently repatriate free blacks back to Africa.
Right.
The modern nations now of Sierra Leone, which I did not know, but I knew about Liberia. Those two nations were actually started by free black slaves who were repatriated from America back to Africa. Okay. However, black slave owners continued to thrive in the United States. By 1830, there were 3,775 black families living in the South who owned black slaves. And by 1860, there were about 3,000 slaves owned by black households in the city of New Orleans alone.
Wow.
Yes. And that completes our discussion for tonight.
Okay.
You got some questions.
I got a question for you. You said that Anthony Johnson, right,
Yes.
was a black man.
Yes, he was.
All right, and he's who we thought was the first black slave owner. Right?
That is correct, and that part very well may be true.
Okay. You said something was not going. You were going to show something.
Yeah,
not true.
because what they tried to say is that he was the very first owner of slaves.
Okay.
That is probably not true.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was the very first black owner
recorded in history.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I got it. That's a good. I couldn't figure out the distinction.
Okay.
And that's what you're saying.
Well, it's always good to clarify these things.
I got you. Thank you very much, sir.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
And you can reach me at Uncle Bocci, UNCLEBACI, at DocOwenShow.com.
As well as your Twitter bidder.
My Twitter is at Uncle_Bocci on Twitter.
Bingo. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Uncle Bocci.
Before we have to take a little break here, I thought I would bring up something that's a bit of an aggravation and go ahead and get it out from under my skin or whatever you want to call it. As all of you know, I'm going to totally assume that Uncle Bocci's going to get his phone. So there's somebody calling in to question his history lesson, I guess. The United States government is set up in three branches, right?
Correct.
The administrative and the elected, which is Congress, which people refer to as Congress, but it's actually two houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And then the third branch is the judicial branch, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And the administrative branch is set up to do what Congress passes.
That's correct.
Right? And the judicial branch was set up to make sure that they both played according to the rules. In very simple language. That's kind of what was set up, right? You don't know? Am I saying it wrong?
Actually, that was not the intent of the founders. Because that led you to believe the false idea that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of the Constitution. And they are not.
Okay. I drew him out. I knew I would. So who is the final arbiter of the Constitution?
The executive branch, the legislative branch, all have responsibility to follow the Constitution.
Correct.
The Supreme Court should only come into play when there is an action against
Right.
the government
to
determine whether it was constitutionally done.
No. So the judicial branch was set up, I said, to make sure that both sides play fair. In other words, to make sure that both sides follow the law, follow the Constitution.
Okay.
Was what I said.
Yeah.
And I thought that's why they were there. They're not there to make law.
That's for sure.
They are there to make sure that law that has been made is according to the Constitution.
Yes, if someone brings a suit up to them, and that they
They can't go. They're not they can't go out and say you can't do that.
That's
Somebody has to question the government. That's the distinction you're making.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But they are the final decision maker. If somebody complains that the government's not playing fair, the Supreme Court steps in and says, boom, right? But the main thing I wanted to get out of this, it doesn't have to do with the Supreme Court, is the way that the game is supposed to be played between Congress and the administrative branch, right?
Okay. Yes.
Congress has the oversight. Congress represents the people. It's elected by the people. And the administration, or executive branch as you referred to it, is exactly that. The Congress writes laws and supposedly directs the country according to the will of the people. These are all, fairy tales nowadays, but this is the way it's supposed to be.
That's correct. Yes.
So, I mean, they weren't fairy tales when I was growing up, but they were getting pretty close. And now it's a joke. So, but Congress is supposed to make the law according to the people's wishes, and the administration is supposed to administer those laws. In other words, Congress says, run the country this way, do this, do that, and the administration says, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we're on it.
That's correct.
And they built this bureaucracy to do what the law told them to do, right? So given that understanding of how it's supposed to work, when Congress calls a hearing and says, we want to talk to you about such and such, somebody in the administration, like they did with the IRS, like they've done with the email server for the Secretary of State, all right? When Congress calls a hearing and says, we want to talk to you about this, what are you supposed to do? You go to the hearing, right?
You go to the hearing, yeah.
What if the administration says, nah, we don't want to? We ain't coming. We're not going to do it.
That's the question. Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. The reason that I bring it up, very recently, our good friend, well, very recently we had one of the people that helped on Hillary Clinton's email server, and I've gone past my time, that helped on Hillary Clinton's email server has stood the Congress up twice, all right? And the second time they put out I've forgotten what it's called. What'd they call it? Blah, blah. Oh, a contempt of court citation. All right. So because he didn't show up for a subpoena, right? And then they gave one immunity, and he did come in and just basically sunk the ship. And they still don't know what to do about it. But in addition, there was very recently a session called by Senator Jeff Sessions, had a scheduled, legally required Senate hearing on the president's determination about refugee numbers for fiscal year 2017 that begins October 1st. So we learned from Don Barnett at the Center for Immigration Studies how this works. The president sets the number, and Congress has very little oversight or input into that. The administrative branch just says it because, remember, the Congress gave them the law, and the administration said, okay, that's what we'll do. So they put the number to it, and then they give that number to the UN, and the UN says, okay, 100,000 people, here they are. Here's the list. This is the countries they're coming from. The UN picks the people that they ship in. All right? We have nothing to say about it. But still, Congress called a hearing to review the numbers, right? And the administrative branch said, no, we're busy. We got to go up to New York City and attend a bunch of parties with the United Nations. And that's exactly what they did. They did not show up. The Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, I can't even find it again. Anyway, the three branches of the government, did not show up. All three branches had nobody that could come to this hearing.
Amazing.
And what's frustrating is, as we discussed it before the show, there doesn't seem to be a remedy. In other words, the same thing happened to this young guy. He didn't show up the first time. He didn't show up the second time, so they held him in contempt of Congress. What does that mean? He's still not going to come in?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't seem to have a remedy. I find that hard to believe. If nothing else, they have a political remedy. If I'd have been Jeff Sessions, I would have called the senator and the congressman from New York State, and I'd have said, here's the deal. You got a problem. You know, I asked these people to come in here and talk to me. It's a regularly scheduled meeting. They knew it was going on. There's no excuse. They're up there in downtown New York partying with a bunch of people from the UN. Go pick them up and have their ass in Washington by 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Wouldn't it be nice to have him in Congress?
Yeah.
It would be.
Yeah, but the statement I just gave you is exactly why I'd never get elected.
That's
I wouldn't even get paid. I wouldn't even get put on the primary ballot. Okay, with that, let's take a little 1 minute break for a sip of water, and we'll come back and we'll talk about some really exciting stuff.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-975-4583. That's 1-800-975-4583.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. Well, we are into it. I know that you are following the news or the information on the situation in Charlotte. They have had 2 nights of rioting over over the shooting of a black man. Black Lives Matter and all the other thugs are in town. And basically it started out as what they were calling the Charlotte Charlotte protest, and then on Twitter, which I did chime in on, it got changed to Charlotte riots. And so tonight, the National Guard is moving in. And, I understand why the National Guard is moving in, because they expected it to escalate, thanks to our fearless leader, President of the United States, who came out and said that protesters angered by the fatal police shooting of a black man in Charlotte, North Carolina, are raising, quote, legitimate, unquote, concerns about racial disparities in the criminal justice system.
Didn't we go through this back in the 50s already? What's going on?
The president called the governor and said violence and looting only serve to distract from the issues that should be subject of careful public scrutiny. And he wanted to make sure that the authorities ensured the safety of the protesters. I would send in the National Guard after the president called for the protesters to be protected too. Mm-hmm. Not very often, but as things come across all the different channels that I read, there was one out there that said, you need to watch this rant on President Obama, provided by a veteran college graduate black guy, that he just totally unloads on Obama. And I wouldn't even bring up the color, except that's what the Twitter feed said. So I want you to listen to these very resounding, honest, truthful words from Mr. A.D. Bell, B-E-L-L. Take it away.
What's going on, everybody? This A.D. I just want to come to you guys today. As you may know, it's a lot of things going on And as you may also see, I'm wearing my Make America Great Again hat, which I don't wear. I keep it in my living room. So when people walk into my home, that's one of the first things they see. I usually don't wear it, but yeah, trust me, I had it for like months now. I had it for a long time. And as you see, it's football Sunday, Seahawks, and these two things tell a story. Chicago is my home, so I was a Bears fan, but the Bears kept Jay Cutler, and I can't support that any longer. Some people say, "Oh, that's a false reason." Yeah, but and plus I no longer live there anymore, so I don't really care about the teams. But what I do care about is the people. So when President Barack Obama says he will find it a personal insult if the people, black people particularly, don't vote for Hillary Clinton, I find it a personal insult that you only made one attempt to reach out to these people. People have been calling you back to come back to Chicago for a long time. And for all you clowns who like to call me names, don't tell me that I'm lying. And if you in Chicago, don't tell me that I'm lying. Since 2008, these people have been calling for Barack Obama to come to Chicago and do something. I know a lot of people say, well, that's not the job of a president. You may be right, but we didn't vote for him to not do anything. We voted for him to do something. So you could come with these rigged numbers, this rigged data that could be manipulated. You could come with that all day long, but it doesn't change the fact that people are living in turmoil. People are living in chaos across the country. It's sad. You can go to the Inglewood community in Chicago and it looks just like Hardin County in Kentucky. So you can't try to make that well, it's better over here. No. Different demographics, but the same outcome and the same results. So don't give me this crap about we're doing so much better. And don't give me this crap about the Republicans blocking him and all this. No. That's not why you vote for a president. Because if that's why we vote for, and that's why we vote for a president, why are y'all so afraid of Donald Trump? If you say Barack Obama can't get anything done because of the Congress, a lot of the people in the Congress don't like Donald Trump. So how will he get anything done? So why is it such a problem? We just had bombs go off last night. These people don't even have the decency to say, well, it was an act of terror. It don't matter who did it. It was an intentional act. No, it was an act of terror. If somebody pit bull get loose and start chasing people and start trying to bite little kids, you know what they would call? You know what they would say? A pit bull is terrorizing the neighborhood. So when somebody blows up a bomb that injures 25 people, that's not an act of terror? Are you serious? Do they really think that we are just that dumb? I sit back sometimes, I say, well, you know what, AD? Maybe you're thinking a little bit too much into it. Excuse me 1 second. Maybe you're thinking a little bit too much into this. Maybe, but then it's like something happened. Some liberal get on TV and say something that just doesn't make any sense. When Donald Trump said we must be tough, you know what the liberal said? What does he mean tough? These people are so smart, they're dumb. They don't even understand the common tongue. Not English, the common tongue. How us common people talk. They don't even understand what the word tough means. They are so smart. They don't even understand that. They don't understand common sense talk. And they wonder why we support him. Yes, it may not be a lot of black people, but I do. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm the type of person, I live by this, and I always live by this. And I even told the mother of my kids when I first met her, I said this, and I meant it. I'm going to tell you what's right. If I can't tell you what's right, I'm not going to tell you anything at all. That's who I am. That's me. That's from the heart. I lived it. I breathed it. I own it. We need to be tough. We need to hold these people accountable. And we got to stop voting for these people, man, because they put labels on our backs. We have to stop allowing these people to silence us because they want to label us. They want to put us in a box or a basket, as Miss Clinton liked to call it. These people are not good for democracy. We need real change. And if I got to go out here and sacrifice what I have to sacrifice to get that change, guess what? I would do it. No questions asked, no problems, no nothing. Because guess what? I'm a realist. I don't even know where I'm going with this. But before I leave, man, I just want you guys to hear for yourself what the man said. Make sure I got it up loud enough for you guys to hear it. I hope you guys can hear this. Just listen for yourself.
A personal insult, an insult to my legacy. If this community lets down its guard and fails to activate itself in this election, you want to give me a good send-off? Go vote. And I'm going to be working as hard as I can these next 7 weeks to make sure folks do.
So what are you going to do, Mr. Obama? What are you going to do to me? That's the question that people should be asking. So what are you going to do? You say you're going to find a personal insult. When people say they're being insulted, you know what they do? They act on it. Like me, I feel like liberals and Democrats have insulted me for a long time. I feel like liberals and Democrats have insulted black people for a long time. You know what I'm doing? I'm voting against them. So what are you going to do, Mr. Obama? What are you going to do? Please tell me. Just warn me. I will accept the punishment for not staying on the Democratic plantation. I will accept it, sir. And to all you bums, please don't come to me with this bull crap. Because if you didn't find that man disrespectful, then you are a part of the problem. Because that was highly disrespectful. And I don't even really talk bad about Obama like that. But that was highly disrespectful. Saying that if I don't vote for her, you will find it to be a personal insult if I don't vote for her? She's corrupt. This is only going to get uglier. I can feel it. It's going to get uglier. But I'm not backing down. You won't stop me. You won't change my opinion. You come for me, I'm willing to go there. I come from nothing. I never had anything. So I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Because guess what I got? I got my own mind, sir. My own mind. And that's something that you can never take away from me. And I will use it to battle you and your minions and your bosses. AD Bell 45 on Twitter. AD Bell YouTube. Have a blessed day.
Mr. Bell, thank you for delivering that message in the common tongue, sir. All of us greatly appreciate it. I would love to have you on the show. We're going to reach out ASAP, but I didn't want to let that get by us. Got an interesting article here. Hillary just dropped 19 points with a critical group of voters. Our target, hopefully, best audience, millennials.
Yes.
Gotta love it. A Quinnipiac poll and Fox News poll both showed that Clinton's lead among millennials had taken a particularly harsh beating. In the Quinnipiac poll, Clinton had gone from being 24 points ahead of Republican nominee Donald Trump in August to being ahead by only 5 points. And Fox News showed similar numbers. So she's still ahead, but a 19-point drop in 1 month is, shall we say, precipitous.
I would say so. And going in the right direction.
That's right.
Are you aware that there's a particular thing out there called the Huffington Post, which is a well-known liberal rag?
The Huffington Puffington.
Huffington Puffington Post is always supportive of the liberal point of view, no matter what.
Right.
Right? Did you realize that they wrote an obituary on the Hillary campaign?
No, I did not know that.
Yes, they did. The publication that announced a boycott of Donald Trump campaign news then covered it only in its entertainment section before finally looking for any way to trash him completely with incentives that, would make MSNBC embarrassed. They've written an article called Why Hillary Lost, a Premature Obit. And it goes on to talk about the fact that she's going to lose, and why she lost, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So even her own friends are really not doing her very much good at all. It's kind of hard to follow Mr. A.D. Bell, but, I'm going to give it one more try. Let me ask you a question, and then we're going to take another little 1-minute break, I think. What happens, and this is something I believe that we brought up last week, I'm not sure, and that is what happens if Hillary dies before the election? And question 2 is what happens if she is elected but dies before taking office? And this was being brought up, it was being bantered around because of her health issues that started on 9/11 or became apparent on 9/11. They didn't start on 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I found an article. It's published by a lady by the name of Publius Huldah, Huldah. And if you do not subscribe to Publius Huldah's blog, you should. She is the absolute world's foremost authority on the original intent of the United States Constitution. It's hands down. No one argues with her understanding of the Constitution. It's just the way it is. I mean, she's made herself the scholar on that particular topic. The system we now use to elect presidents and vice presidents is unconstitutional. That's her opening statement. Our Constitution doesn't permit political parties to hold primaries and national conventions to select nominees for their party. Instead, the electors of each state are to meet within their own state, and they cast the votes for their state for president, and then in a second ballot, they cast the votes for their state for vice president. Then each group of electors sends their list of persons voted for to the president of the Senate, who on a specified date counts the votes. All right, there is no primary in there. The 12th Amendment specifies the procedures we are supposed to follow. So that is the 12th Amendment. That's the way it's supposed to work. She has 2 papers on this, and if you go out to the blog, you'll find them. The earlier article I wrote on this topic illustrates with examples precisely how the voting for president and vice president is to be done. Anyway, so the Constitution doesn't address what happens if Hillary dies before the election, because under the Constitution, her nomination, like Trump's, is unconstitutional. However, we abandoned the rule of law long ago. We are now under the rule of man. So we hear a lot of complaints about an activist Supreme Court. And according to Publius, it's been going on for quite some time. It's accelerated. It's more visible. There's more people complaining about it. There's more communication. We have access to more information, faster, quicker, blog, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. So that's why it's more visible, but it's been going on for a long time. All right? And then she says, so the Democrat Party will do whatever they want to do about replacing her if she dies before the election. And then Section 3 of the 20th Amendment addresses what happens if Hillary is elected but dies before she takes office. Tim Kaine will be president. So I think we talked about that last week, and that answers the question. Because we were thinking that Kaine would not be president because he hadn't taken the oath of office, right? That's not true. He's been elected. He just would be taking the oath of office for president instead of vice president if she dies in that interim. So there is no gap.
Very interesting.
They're technically, let's put it that way, there technically, according to the Constitution, is no gap for Obama to shoot and go in for a third term. In other words, unless they replace Hillary, well, then he can't run, see? So, okay. I just found it interesting, and I have a lot of faith in Publius Hulda. If you do some research, I can assure you will too.
I'm going to check her out.
She
That's
really
for
knows her stuff.
It sounds like, yeah.
Do we have we got time for a little 1 minute break, and then my brief discussion with Nico about security?
Yeah.
I hope so. Let's take that break, and then we will go right into a conversation with our friend of the show and Bexar County District Attorney Nico Lahood, and then I'll have a few minutes to close up. Take it away.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 877-212-5898. Again, 877-212-5898. That's 877-212-5898. 877-212-5898.
What? No way, man.
You want to talk? Are you paying attention to the national game?
I'm always paying attention.
It's a little scary, isn't it?
Well, it's very scary. It's not a little scary.
I think it is.
It's very scary.
I mean, we could have a real mess on our hands.
Look, national security should be the number one issue that people should be looking at.
I agree.
And that's a fact.
I totally agree.
I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat,
and it's got
Independent. It has
agree.
nothing to do with that. It has
Right.
to do with America.
Right.
It has to do with people that want to destroy America.
Yeah.
And that's maybe we can flesh
Newt
this out in
Gingrich,
another.
by the way, a well-known name, came out and said that anybody who believes in Sharia law should leave the United States.
Well, I've said that before. I didn't know he said that. By the
He
way.
just did. That's
I didn't
what
know
I'm
that.
saying.
I don't.
He tweeted it out like a couple of days ago.
I'm not a tweeter.
I knew you'd want to know that.
I didn't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I would if anybody.
He didn't say
said that,
Nico Lahood said.
Yeah, well, I don't care. He could because I've said it many times. But it's true. If you know what Sharia law stands for, if you know what Islam stands for, look. And I've said this last time. I'll say it again. I don't follow him too much. I don't think I agree with Bill Maher on anything.
Right.
I don't know. But I 100% will stand shoulder to shoulder with him on Islam.
On Islam, right.
He is dead on, man. He is, and he's not, he won't let people, he's spot on it. And so, hey, we can agree on an issue and we can disagree passionately on other issues. But
this is one that we got to come together on.
This is an American issue. This has nothing to do with politics.
That's what I'm saying.
Look, I've said this before. If you're the most liberal of liberals or the most conservative of conservatives, both sides should agree on Sharia law and Islam.
Right.
The tenets. Notice I'm never going to talk about Muslims. You and I have talked about. I don't talk about Muslims.
I love the education you gave me.
We know. I have friends that are Muslim. We all know peaceful Muslims.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with Muslims.
I pass that education along every chance I get.
Good. It's about tenets of Islam.
Yes, sir.
We have Christians that suck.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They don't follow the tenets of Christianity, but they claim the title of Christians,
right?
Or they use it for their own personal agenda. But they can't. You can't go back to the scripture and say where are you justifying this?
Right.
The people that are doing that. But with Islam, you just go to the text, the Quran, the Hadith, or the Sirah,
right?
And you look at this and what they push and promulgate and what they promote and what it stands for. It's scary. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And so for anybody, and I'll leave it general, anybody to say that Islam in tenet as a whole is a religion of peace, that is not true. Objectively, it's just not true. I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
So, I'm not sorry. It's just I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. It's a fact.
Yep.
And so this is a real issue that you cannot be cured of a sickness if it's not properly diagnosed. And until we want to start talking about what the issue is, and it's a worldview, it's a mindset, it's this political correctness combined with ignorance, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Ignorance meaning not knowing.
I understand.
Political correctness and ignorance equals destruction.
I agree. We're totally on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, and guess what? There's Democrats that agree with me, and there's Republicans that agree with me, and there's Democrats that disagree with me, and there's Republicans that probably disagree with me. I don't know, and it doesn't matter to me. It's about principle. It's about principle. Look, it doesn't matter what your opinion is on marriage, on abortion, on anything else if we don't get national security right.
Well,
none of it matters. It really doesn't, right? Because it doesn't matter. We've got to get national security right.
Of course, I agree with you. I would even make it bigger because it's a world class issue. We view it as an American, as a national security issue, and that's our first line.
Right.
Like putting a wall up around Mexico, or between us and Mexico, or yada yada yada. Mexico should be concerned too.
Everybody, look, Islam.
You know what I'm saying?
Islam.
They're after us because we're the
a
golden
threat.
nugget.
Yeah,
well,
we get us, everybody goes down. They've been after Israel forever. Look, Islam is an imperialistic mindset.
Yeah.
They want one caliphate.
Oh, yeah.
Under one caliph, meaning one world domination government under one ruler, right?
Yep.
So that is the mindset, the worldview. There's no peaceful coexistence under the strict tenets, the militant tenets, if they are followed. Now, are there Muslims that do not that choose to denounce certain tenets of Islam? Yes.
Yes.
But under a strict construction and militant following of Islam, they would be called apostates and they would be killed.
Correct.
That's a
Correct.
fact.
Even though they're Muslim.
It doesn't matter to them. They're
That's right.
apostates.
They're apostates because they're not
pretenders.
Islamists.
Because they're not following either the teachings of Muhammad, Allah, or Sharia under the Hadith and everything else.
It's the difference between the Islam, as I learned it, or as I heard it. The Islamists were really big on the show in person at all times. The difference between an Islamist and a Muslim. Don't lump them together. No, don't accuse.
Well, you can't. When you start talking about all Muslims, you go down a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because everybody can think of, well, my Muslim friend.
I correct people when they use Muslim when they should be using
Muhammad
Islam.
Ali was Muslim.
Yeah.
He's never promulgated Sharia law, ever.
Right.
He made a conscious decision to carve out or to deselect certain tenets of Islam.
Right.
He's never, he from what I knew, and maybe you can correct me, wonderful relationship with his daughter.
Yeah.
He would have never stood for the fact that his daughter was a piece of property. He would have never stood for the fact that she could be beaten for insubordination. He would have never stood for the fact that I know of that a 9-year-old girl can be married and consummated with. He would have never stood for the fact that she could be beaten or divorced unilaterally. She cannot inherit his property like a boy, or that she would need 4 witnesses to be raped and
His
couldn't
conversion
testify.
had more to do with anti-war than
Well, that's between him and God, right, in his heart, and he's where he's at, and I don't know. But he was a humanitarian.
Right.
And so his behavior did not follow the tenets of Islam. They didn't.
Right.
And we can get into a very deep discussion later on between the Islam of Mecca and Medina. When where Mecca is where Muhammad was born, he made his pilgrimage and his movement to Medina. Very different writings, very different mindset.
Changed.
There is a doctrine of abrogation, which means that the latter portion, the Medina portion, abrogates and takes precedent over the earlier Mecca one.
Right.
We can get into all that. We can get into taqiyya, which means that you can lie to promulgate and push forward the Islamic movement. You're allowed to lie.
Can you?
You're promoted to. You're supposed to. Correct. I'm just saying. But that's right. So
well, I don't mean to correct you.
Well, no, brother, but you're
most
right.
of it came from you.
You're right. You're right.
Most
well,
of
it, you're more accurate. You're correct. And all I'm saying is we should have discussions about this.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, look, in a strict construction Islamic country that they are following Sharia law, homosexuals are murdered.
Right.
That's insane to me.
Discussion.
That's insane to me. There was a video circulating. I would never stand for that. I would stand in front of them and say, "We're in America, guy."
Well,
whether you agree with the lifestyle or not.
We talked about the fellow human being thing when that deal happened in Florida.
Absolutely.
You and I had that conversation.
And I did a post on that. I've been very clear about that on my position. There was a video circling around where this older lady, like 70s or something, didn't have her face covered, and she was shot, beaten. And, But that's acceptable. I have a picture that horrifies me. This boy, I'll show it to you while we're talking. This boy must be, gosh, he can't be older than 10. The allegation is he was caught stealing bread from the market because he was starving, and they ran over his right arm with a truck. Now, they can chop it off under Sharia law, but they ran. How nice of them, they ran it over. And it's broad daylight. Look, I'll show you
and nobody does a thing.
It's broad daylight.
Shouldn't have stolen the bread.
And they're running over his arm. There it is. Broad daylight. I mean, this is not like a court proceeding. Right. This is not, I mean, look, you see people around him. Yeah. They're taking it, they have the truck, they have the towel underneath his arm. Yeah, they wrapped it up. And there it is, and there's the drive over.
So they crushed it.
And so, I mean, it's not like they're being stopped. No one's, everybody's watching. Here's this little boy. Look how old he is. How old do you think he is?
He's 8.
Crying.
Yeah.
That's insanity. That's evil. How is that not evil?
Right.
This is even close to being, there's no way we accept this stuff, man. This is America. There's America values here, American, and we better get really quickly learned again and reminded what those values are, and fight to the death for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, sorry, we do, or we're going to lose our country.
Yep.
Just look at Europe.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't want to go that way.
Well, you think that?
I don't want to go that way.
You think that England vote was about economics?
No.
Come on.
No.
I mean, we'll get in. That's another discussion. Look, I follow truth, Doc. I'm reasonable. I'm commonsensical. I love people. And part of me loving people, that means I hate when evil tries to hurt people. That's very consistent with my faith, with my God. And so we should stand against anything that physically wants to be murderous or to destroy the fabric of this country, which is the Constitution. And principles that, and there's another discussion, that were formulated under certain worldviews and moral standards, which were Judeo-Christian. We know that. We talked about that before.
Right.
Not to force them on people, but to expose people to them, because these are the best principles that could help the country be a growing, thriving country to let people truly live freely and be loved and grow. So,
at one point, Nico and I were going to do a show together, but I realized I wouldn't get to say much.
I'm sorry.
So I kind of took the offer off the table.
First of all, we weren't going to do a show together. We're trying to bust my chops. You asked me about the topics that I'm passionate about, brother. So you didn't ask me about topics.
You're a good man, Mr. Lahood.
That's the best compliment I can get.
You're a good man.
Thank you, sir.
I cherish our friendship.
Well, likewise.
I really do.
It's mutual.
Thank you very much.
Keep my family in
Call it
prayer.
a day.
Thank you, brother. God bless you guys.
Yeah, God bless you. Folks, I hope you enjoyed that. It's always very informative and gives us a good update. I got less than 2 minutes. I want to take something up with you. I want to give you a call to action that is absolutely mandatory. It is not optional. If you are within the sound of my voice, you got to do this and do it now. It appears that our erstwhile Congress, although the Republican clear thinkers are supposed to be in charge, they are trading away the internet to keep the Democrats from shutting down the government as part of the continuing resolution budget thing by the end of the year. That is, you can't, if you think your head is filled full of mush now because of the information you get, you have no idea what will happen if the internet goes away. Trust me, and it will happen fast. 60 to 90 days, boom. You will not have a clue what the truth is or what is going on. And the only way you'll have to find it will be a shortwave radio. You're going to have to go out and put an antenna in your yard. It's just, giving away the internet is the most unconscionable thing that we have done since we gave away the Panama Canal under Jimmy Carter. Look it up. You have got to get some action going on this. Call, write, fax. If you got the time to call your congressman, Google the number. It's not hard to find. As a matter of fact, go into their email on their Google, on their website. Do what you know how to do. Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.